being from this part of the world, is it good to see these kind of old Southwest Conference things reunited and seem like the crowd enjoyed the game?
Yeah, I thought it was a great atmosphere. I think they have a really good team. I think for Coach to have the roster he has in 2023 with all the rule changes, it's their fourth game. It's the second week of his second year. They're really good. They're going to win a bunch of games, and I've never played here, and I thought the ambiance and environment was tremendous. Yeah, it was really cool.
When Wade has a little bit of a slow night from behind the arc, how important is it for Tyrese and these other guys to get it going and get to the basket, finish?
Yeah, I think the competitive charisma and the synergy the last two games has been tremendous. Not just Boots. I think those are the best two back-to-back games he's had in his college career. Andy does not necessarily score, but as I've told you several times, it just impacts winning in ways that don't show up in the stat sheet. I thought Jace had his best game since he's been here. It's the first time that H has started 3 games in a row. I thought Mo's minutes in the first half, we were down 3 when he came in and up 1 at halftime at Ohio State. I thought the minutes he played tonight were critical. I think there's a lot of growth that's happening when they're with us, but I think there's also a lot of trust that's being built when they're not with us. And you can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it. It's been very encouraging this early.
This little 3-game chapter with 2 away games like y'all haven't done before. Where does this team, where you learn about this team after this?
Well, the good thing is when Texas Tech beat us the way that they did, I think it engaged all of us faster. And typical coach, when you get beat, you say it doesn't count, but it does count. And I thought they were tougher than us. I thought they were better than us. I thought they played harder than we did. And I think on the bus ride home, I think no matter who you are, whether you wear a uniform or a shirt and tie, I think it immediately engaged us like, hey, we got to go. And I think that translated in our prep for Ohio State. And I also think that the staff has been spot on in figuring out how to boil down to the lowest common denominator. What is it that we need to have a chance? Going into this game, I know they played 3 games last week, but 55% of their shots have been shot in the first 12 seconds. That's like a completely different than the prep for Ohio State. They were tremendous on the offensive glass in their 3 games last week. They had 2 scrimmages against Kansas State and Oklahoma State. They won both of them. They were dominant in their pace on the glass. And then they set so many ball screens that you're constantly in rotation. And so it was a completely different type of prep. And I think the growth of the team having to do that in literally the first 10 days of the season, I hope that it translates and helps us into next week playing 3 games in a week.
Coach, what did you think of Chuck Harris from SMU? What was he doing early on there?
I know this sounds condescending. We don't use players' names. We only use numbers. Yeah, that's the transfer from Butler. Yeah, and the other thing, Zero played at Tennessee, right? Yeah, he can really guard. And I'm not saying I'm not coaching their team at all, but I think that was maybe one of the changes in the starting lineup. 3 scored over 1,000 points at Butler. I watched a lot of his clips when he was at Butler. I really like their team. 12 and 22 combined are getting 10 offensive rebounds and putting incredible pressure on the rim. And 10 is a pro, in my opinion, at the mid-range and does a great job on the glass. And now all of a sudden you got 3, you got 1, you got 0, you got 2, and they have 24, coach's son, they've got a plethora of guards that they're playing with 22 or 12 at the 5, or they're playing both 10 and 15 with 12 or 22 at the 5, and then they've got 6 really good guards, including 3. Like, the complexion of their roster is completely different than it was a year ago at this time. And I think their style of play, because of the complexion of their roster, I think it all fits really well. I'm cheering for them now that this is over, because I think this environment and the roster and what coach has them doing, it's a hard guard.
What is it that you saw on film or in the game today that might give their future opponents issues?
Just kind of similar to some of the things that we've been talking about. They had 49 points in the paint if you count free throw makes against Lamar. And I think they had been, I think going into tonight, 55% of their shots had happened in the first 12 seconds of the clock. And they had rebounded 42% of their misses. Like, those are astronomical numbers. The pace is going that fast, and when they miss, they're still getting it back. And then in those 3 games, they averaged 38 ball screens a game. So if they're not shooting it in the first 12, there's a ball screen coming right behind it. And those ball screens are at such an angle that you probably can't have the same coverage over and over and over, because they have smart guards and they're reading, how are you playing this ball screen coverage? And then it's to the next guy and one more. A lot of those threes are, you're in rotation. There's the first pass. You take the first pass, and there goes the one more, and those are the ones they're hitting. I think they made more threes tonight than they have thus far.
Time for a couple more.
Hey, Coach, Dexter Dennis, now with the Mavericks, someone you coached. What made him so special? What made him special defensively? What was he like in practice? If you just talk a little bit about Dex.
He was the best listener I've ever coached. If you told him one thing in film, if you told him one thing in a timeout, if you told him one thing in practice, you never had to tell him again. And if it wasn't happening on the court and it was happening in a post-game press conference, he could take what you told him and execute it on the court and never practice it. He was the same person every single day he was with us. He had been coached incredibly hard before he went to college. He was coached at a very high level, at a very intense level while he was in college. And he had an internship of 400 hours the summer before he came. And so he wasn't able to do anything until the fall semester started. We went 6-5 up until Christmas. And from that point forward, he played 35 minutes or more. He was the leading rebounding perimeter player in the SEC. And as I told all of those NBA teams that called, I think I've never coached in the NBA, so I'm not acting as if I have the answers, but I think he can guard anybody. And obviously, Nico, Coach Kidd, their director of player personnel, I think he's off to a good start.
Do you remember what your conversation with Dallas looked like?
Yes, sir. I remember all of it. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say or not allowed to say, but I think he played with the Magic, and I'm very familiar with some of the people in that organization from my time at Marquette. And I actually thought that that's where he was going to go. And then Coach Pendergraph, I think, is one of the best of all time ever in the NBA. I think this is his 39th year in the NBA. And he's literally known me since I was I've known him for 30 years. And he has really good eyes, and I think he knew what Dex was. And so it happened pretty fast.
Coach, you compared one of your assistants.
I didn't know you were in here, Brian.
I am. One of your assistants compared his team to your Elite Eight team at Marquette and your Sweet 16 team at Virginia Tech. Not in terms of the result that you're going to get, but in terms of the connection and cohesiveness together. How would you assess that comparison?
It's like everything else, Brian, and you know this because you coach longer than you've been in the media, but head coaches receive a lot of criticism and head coaches receive a lot of praise. And the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. There's 93 years of experience on my staff with me. And I just turned 51. And there's more years of experience of paid employees on my staff than any other Division I program in the country. And those guys, whoever that coach was, not asking, whoever they were, they've been doing it wherever we've been for a long time. And so we do not do a lot of things right. And we for sure do a lot of simple things. But the message is always the same. We didn't recruit Dex. It was a very simple decision. I think the years of experience on our team combined with the years of experience on our staff, along with the most difficult schedule we have played. We're playing 8 games in November. 5 of them are not at Reed Arena. You can do your own research. There's not another Power 5 team doing that. And so is that the right thing? I don't know. But that it's the same message over and over. And I love the camaraderie of the staff. And I'm very thankful for it and humbled by it. And I actually do less coaching than I've ever done because everything I would say, they heard me say 10 years ago, so they say it now. And then we have returning players who are good players, many of which have only heard it from one coaching staff. So when another player who's been coached somewhere else, like Dexter, shows up, real quickly, you only have one way to assimilate to what we do. Not saying it's the right way, but there is only one way. And so, hey, Dex, you want to play? This is what Buzz is going to say. These are the drills we're going to do. This is what we're going to do 2 days before. This is what we're going to do 1 day before. This is what we're going to do at shoot around. And if you don't do it, you won't play. And whether you're old, whether you're young, whether Twitter says you were good, whether you were ranked, whether you were voted all conference or preseason, like none of that ever enters our space. And I think that because it's the same thing over and over at our conversation before the game, I think there's incremental improvement by everybody in the program. But because we're working at such a fast, intense pace over and over, and we're kind of in a bubble, so to say, you don't realize how much better you're getting. Are we as good as the Elite 8 team? Jay obviously played on those back-to-back Sweet 16s, and he just got hurt. And I'm still real close with Jay. And so his dad texted me yesterday and said, hey, will you reach out to Jay? And I said, I was talking with Jay last week. What's up? I didn't know he got hurt. And he said, Buzz, you're about the only person he listens to. And I go, what do you want me to say? He goes, well, he's hurt. And I go, all right, I'll talk to him. We play tomorrow. But we went to Sweet 16, and we had multiple players that were drafted off that second Sweet 16 team. And the next year, with 0 pros on the roster, we went to the Elite 8. Our talent wasn't as good, but there was only one way we were doing it. COVID really hurt us when we were here. I was awful. I did a really bad job during the COVID season. We completely changed our roster, some of our staff, not because I had done anything wrong per se. It was just all of the circumstances of COVID. But if you look at what transpired since then, in the 2 years and now 3 games, there's been a lot of carryover and a lot of continuity. and you know this, like, sorry for the long diatribe. In 2023, it's hard to do anything over and over and over with the same people. But if you can find the right character, people, and you can do it over and over, if you're less talented, you'll eventually get to the point because you've done it so many times that you think that you're better than you actually are.
All right, that's a wrap. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.